Welcome to Access Your Leadership, where we share inspiring career stories and talk about ways you can level up your own leadership potential. I'm your host and coach, Akeem Lakhdar, and today I'm here with my friend, Kim Auker. Kim is a transformational coach for revolutionary mothers, and she's on a mission to flip the narrative that says, I can't do this as a mother, to because I'm a mother, I can create everything that I want to. Kim, I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Hakeem. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm looking forward to this chat. So I love to start, as everybody knows, with just a leadership win. Presence me with what a leadership win has been for you, whether it's personal or professional. I'd love to hear it.
Okay, I am really in the space of internal leadership, being able to lead myself in terms of my thinking, and also what is the win I want to celebrate is to really notice what is leading me. So for so much of my life, I've been led by a little bit of want and a lot of fear. And the win for me now is having this deep connection to my desire and letting that lead. Because when I tap into the desire of, it's connected to my purpose and to who I am, my real true essence of who I am, and what I want as a mother, as a business leader, as a woman, when I tap into that, it's like the power and the excitement and the motivation that I feel is gigantic, enormous, never ending. So my win is that I'm really allowing desire to lead me. And that also means I have to lead my thoughts and, say some of them aren't very helpful. So I need to kind of steer thoughts that are opposing my desire.
Yeah. Well, I like that because you're speaking my language. Anytime I hear about self-leadership, I always perk up because in a recent podcast episode, one of my guests was talking about self-talk and she's in the process of writing a book. So that's really aligned. But I'll tell you, nobody has ever come on and said that their leadership win is leading themselves. And I love that you see the power in that and leading yourself through a place of honoring your desire, recognizing how meaningful and how powerful and how affirming that desire, when it is acknowledged in an honest way, can be for you, and letting that guide you and not letting the thought influence that or distort that desire, but actually seeing that and creating a space for that true desire to exist and then creating from there. That's awesome. So you mentioned throughout your life the ways in which you've managed this and you've kind of evolved to understand how thoughts and wants and fears and all sort of incorporate. Tell me a little bit about where you've come from, how you've gotten to where you are now, who Kim is. I would love to hear more about that.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to start with some dreams I've been having lately, and that will kind of set the scene of where I was at before I stepped into coaching and personal development and spiritual development, because that's been a really big part of this journey too. So I've been having a lot of dreams of when I used to live in India and I was with the dreams are actually when I was with my ex-husband, but my ex-husband is from India. And for 2 years, I lived there with him. And after we got divorced, he left the picture and went back to India. And I was a single mom of 3 daughters who were 7 and under. And that was when I was also starting my business. And the reason that these dreams are coming up now for me is because I am in this stage of fully stepping into my power. And that time in my life was a place where I was extremely living in powerlessness. There's a lot of beautiful things about India. My experience of it and where I lived, it was not a safe situation for me as a white woman and having 3 white daughters, because my children are pretty fair skinned. So I stayed inside a lot. I didn't get out much. And then I also have this fear, like the dreams are also bringing up fears of when my daughters go back there, like will it be like for them? But ultimately, the processing of that powerlessness and kind of shedding this I mean, I'm sure it's not the final layer of powerlessness, but it is a big one. And it really defines why I'm here, because I've been able to now like really connect dots. So the powerlessness is really that I gave up so much of what I wanted to support my ex-husband and my family. And I thought that that's what I wanted. But as the relationship continued and I was not getting my needs met or even heard, I just kind of cowered and said, well, I got married. This is what I had signed up for. I'm just not going to get what I want. And in that culture, there's a lot of martyrdom, especially for
Mm-hmm.
mothers, that this is your duty. And when I left that relationship, it's been this like climb out of this hole of powerlessness to the point where now one of the most beautiful things about this leadership win that I shared of desire is I started creating what I want for my life and my kids after the divorce. But also, I've been triggered for a long time about, I have one daughter who is like so passionate about the things that she wants.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I didn't know what to do with it for so long.
Mm.
Because I don't want to be like the male figure in my life was like, you can't have what you want. And I didn't want to do that to her. And I want to be encouraging. And now I've come to this place where this realization where your wants and desires and creating from that place is the most powerful place to create from. So I've cleared out that trigger. Like, I don't know, this is a very like non-linear story of my life, but basically after I got divorced, I was a parent coach. So a lot of the work that I did was transformation through my own motherhood and my own mothering. And then that extended into leading other parent coaches and business leaders. But it's all been centered around this identity of mother, because for me, it's such a powerful motivator to create change in my life. And now I get to see how what I want for myself and my children can actually drive in a more powerful way what I am creating out in the world. And that brings me to the message now that I'm living is because you are mother, you get to create everything that you want. And so what that looks like right now, we came on the call and I had my 6-month-old baby here with me. It's like I get to have a baby and be a powerful leader. I don't have to sacrifice anything.
Yeah. What an empowering, not to be redundant, but I think it's such an empowering message to share because I know that even as a new father, I originally saw my family as a blessing and I appreciated that and I was grateful for that. But there's also this shadow side of it that sort of saw it as a burden and a real weight. And I can imagine what that relationship may also be for a woman, for a mother who's got big dreams and clear vision of what they want, and they become a mother, they become this leader in their family, and then they start to think about how that power really translates to creating what it is that they desire. And I like the fact that you're sort of bringing those back together because I can appreciate the powerless feeling. And I imagine there's a lot of that occurs, but there's also probably a part of you that still feels powerful as a mother, but not able to create the things for you that you desire. It's
Yeah.
power channeled towards protecting and nurturing and supporting and guiding and all of the mother responsibilities one has, or even
Mhm.
parent responsibilities that one has. And you're saying, no, this power is available to you to use as you need to create anything that you want. Of course, it's going to be for your children, but
Mhm.
also what else out in the world for you, for the people that you want to impact. I love that. Such a great message.
Yeah, thank you.
So when you think about, if you don't mind me asking, when you talk about sort of climbing out of that hole, were there other instances in your earlier years as a professional, as a single person prior to your first marriage, where you felt like you were in that hole or that there was that powerlessness feeling that you were aware of?
Definitely. Yeah, I can think of so many examples, but I'll just give this general example, which is I was a very quiet and am still a very introverted person. So that quietness translated as me not feeling confident in using my voice.
Mm,
So this also was kind of how I was raised. I mean, I love my parents and they're incredible people, but the culture at the time was this, punishment and reward system. So that created in me of like, I can't speak up unless it's good and I'll
mm,
get a reward for it. And if I speak up against something potentially wrong, quote unquote, then I may be punished. So
mm,
that really created a weak connection to my own voice and what was important to me. And so a lot of through my life and even in, intimate relationships, I was the follower. I did what my best friend did, or I did what my partner at the time wanted to do. So within relationships, I had a lot of powerlessness. There were areas where I was still powerful because I'm an academic and I love learning and I really excelled in that area and being a powerful person. But in relationships, I experienced a lot of powerlessness.
mm. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And it sounds like, if I may, and this is, I think, true for all of us, that when we are in those moments of vulnerability, where you're feeling, in this case, powerless, we seek to find those areas where we could be powerful, but yet still be safe too,
Mm,
where the stakes are maybe a bit lower or the risk is not as high. So you can sort of
yeah.
remind yourself, like, no, no, I have power. I have some control here. I have a connection to creating in the way that I want to, but I get to do it in an area that's a bit safe for me and is not as high risk.
Mm, yeah, that's so true. Yeah, because especially like when I think about, I was in academics. So it was like all this external validation because I was good at it. I was a little study worker bee and I would follow all the rules and get really good grades and stuff. And I loved learning. So it was also an area where I excelled in just, feeling excited about it.
Mm.
But yeah, knowing what the rules were and following the rules meant that I could always succeed because I just
Hmm.
needed to do this, this, and this. And I get a pat on the back and an A+ and all of that. So yeah, it definitely is a safe place. And it's interesting to think about that because when I went into entrepreneurship, where now I'm in a totally different phase of my life as well, but not having that structure of rewards like and external validation, it's been quite a journey to learn how to like operate from the inside out
Yeah,
and feel powerful doing that.
yeah. And I promise that was not a planted question, because when you were talking about even your academic experiences and background, that's exactly where my mind went. And I was thinking
Mhm.
about how I was collecting degrees and I was working in higher
Yeah.
education. And I was
Uh-huh.
even thinking about building a career in higher education. I was like, the confines of higher ed feel very safe to me.
Uh-huh.
And I've learned this system in a way where I know if I do A plus B, I'll get C. And
Yeah.
that just made sense to me. I got good at it. And you and I have had this conversation before when we've talked that just because you can doesn't mean you should. And
Yeah.
being open to the possibility that maybe I was choosing to be in that space. And it sounds like you maybe were too, because it was safe, because it was structured, because it was predictable, and the many other reasons, to then step out of that into a space where there's no safety net, there's no belay line, you're just sort of free climbing. And it's like, whoa,
Uh-huh.
this feels really risky. This feels really scary, I think is a word that I know I have used on my own entrepreneurial journey, and I've shared this with other people vulnerably, that to go back to what you started this conversation with, which was this idea around self leadership and honoring, recognizing your desire and aligning that with the power that you possess so that you can create what you truly desire. That's not an easy thing to do as an entrepreneur.
Mm-mm.
It's certainly not easy to do as
Yeah.
a parent. And to be a parent and an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur, a new parent and an entrepreneur, and to be doing all that from a place of how am I leading myself so that all of these other things that are so important to me benefit as well. How
Mm-hmm.
do you juggle all of that?
Well, it gets messy.
Yeah.
And it's definitely an ongoing experiment. But yeah, as you were speaking, I was thinking like there are a lot of opportunities, even as entrepreneurs, to follow a structure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I'm on social media a lot and I get ads about coaching and marketing, and, you can sell if you follow this template. Like there's so much about that out there. So people like me, where I'm like, I want to be told what to do, but not really, because at this time in my life, I also have a very rebellious heart. So there is a way you could put yourself into a structure as an entrepreneur, but there's a great risk in doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And those we see also in the entrepreneurial world and in any working environment, where you risk burnout and overwhelm because you're doing something that isn't fully aligned with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then how do you move out of that and start to listen to yourself and follow your own desire? It really is a lot of experimentation and trying something and seeing how it feels, and then coming back and see, where's your energy when you did that? Did it feel good? And for some people, structure really works, but for people like me, I'm very much at this point in my life when I really, tune into who I truly am. I don't want to follow a structure.
Yeah.
I want, or, an outside structure. I want to build
Yeah.
my own structure.
Yeah.
So to do that, actually parenting is a really powerful place, or it has been for me, to tap into my intuition. And I think this is where like the power of being a mother really comes in. And even a father has this same connection. You are so deeply connected to your child when you really open yourself up to that, and you have a little bit of knowledge about, like why a 2-year-old has a tantrum. Well, it's not because they're trying to manipulate you or something like that. You can watch your child throughout the day, and okay, it's 5 o'clock at night, they didn't have a nap, they haven't eaten much, or maybe they've had a bunch of sugar. You know why they've kind of melted down into a
Mm-hmm.
tantrum. You know it because you've watched them, their personality, what's off for them. You can think back during the day. So that practice of intuitively understanding why you're getting certain behavior out of your child, you can tap into that same power as an entrepreneur
Mm.
and notice your own behaviors
Wow.
and notice what's been going on for you. What have you been thinking about? What have you been believing about yourself? Noticing, am I tired? Am I not getting enough rest? Noticing, in my, like, what I love to support with is really helping people, and mothers especially, align their work with what is true for them, including their own rhythms
Mm.
and also what they're most passionate about. So that also is like, am I trying to create a program that is just going to please somebody else and I'm not that excited about it? Because if that's true, then when you go and take action to sell it or to reach out and talk about it, your energy is going to be really different,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to impact what you create in the
Mm-hmm.
end. So it's this continual noticing of what's going on in your own behavior and what you're feeling inside, and then, more deeply following your intuition.
Yeah, and I think there's so much to what you're saying too, Kim. I mean, about even alignment. I love that. And you've heard me say this before, where I don't even use the term work-life balance. It's work-life harmony for me, because
Mhm.
I want them to be harmonious. And then someone will say to me, "Oh yeah, you mean like integrated?" I'm like, "No, no, no, not integrated. Integrated is different than harmony.
Mm,
Integration is this sort of this muddying, this muddling of two things, versus harmony. They get to be separate, but they work in complementary ways to one another.
mhm,
And that alignment creates that. It creates that clarity to understand, what am I doing and how does it align with what I mean, when you talk about creating a program that you're not aligned with, or that isn't in tune with what your desire to create out there in the world for your clients. When I hear you saying that, you might as well just scrap that and then just go get a random job and pick up a paycheck. I mean, because
mm,
there's
yeah.
nothing any different than doing maybe something in the realm of what you want to do, but not it being true to you. and
Mhm.
just going and getting a regular 9 to 5 paycheck job just so that you can collect your income. And
Yeah.
I think for people who understand themselves in the way that you do, you are seeing that this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for you to actually be 100% true to who you are. And then in doing so, that's where the value is.
Yeah.
The value is for you, yes, it's for your family, yes, but the people who get to work with you are getting a version of you that is 100% authentic in that moment. Not
Mhm.
thinking, okay, in session 2, I've got to pull out this bag of tricks or that bag of tricks. They're getting whatever Kim has to bring in whatever session on whatever day you're in conversation with them. And I think that's such an amazing value.
Yeah, it's so true. And it also, what it does, if you come back to leadership, is when you really follow your desire, then you start to basically take a stand in your
Hmm.
life and say, this is what is true for me. And it allows you to be firm, be rooted, and say no
Yeah.
to what's not right for you. And if you think about, I can't think of like a specific person, but the people we see as powerful, especially powerful women, they know how to say no,
Hmm.
and they have a stand that they're making in life. And that, it shifts societies,
It
it
does.
shifts paradigms. Or like here, let's say like Martin Luther King Jr., right? He had a stand for peaceful protest in how he was creating equality. If he wiggled on that, he wouldn't be the same person.
Yeah.
So we can make that same stand in our lives and really sink ourselves down into it through understanding what that desire is that we're
Mm.
wanting to create.
Yeah. And that wiggle creates such ripples. I mean, think about that
Mhm.
has you then questioning how true are you being about other aspects of your life, and then others
Mhm.
questioning how true and committed you are to those other areas of your life. If in this one area you can't be true to you. And I had this
Mhm.
conversation with leaders all the time. And I was having a conversation with a client yesterday. We were talking about sumo wrestlers, and I won't even go into the example that we got into was so cool. But we were essentially talking about an interview that the sumo wrestlers were giving, and they were saying, what have you learned through the many, many years of doing sumo? And they said, like, I just have to go into the ring and do my sumo. I have watched so many people in my early years. I was trying to replicate this and mirror that and adopt this style, adopt that style. And they just realized that every time I did that, I was being a half authentic version of myself and
Mhm.
questioning whether or not this was going to work, or what if I just did my own thing? Would that be better?
Mhm.
Whereas when you are rooted in what you know yourself to be, who you know yourself to be, and what you truly desire, and desire can be things you want to acquire or accomplish, but desire can also be how you want to be received as a leader, how you want to be, how
Mhm.
you want to create impact as a leader. And
Yeah.
when I'm working with clients, and I know this is true for when you're working with clients, when you can presence somebody to who they really are, and that's how they get to show up every day. They don't have to go through this like catalog of who do I want to be today.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
refreshing. It's so freeing.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think freeing, so many people want freedom. They want to
Yeah.
feel free in their
Mm,
life, and this is how you can do it.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And you can
Yeah.
imagine then when you're working with entrepreneurial mothers to have that weight lifted, that sense of freedom, that sense of limitless possibilities. How does that translate
Yeah.
into what you then create in your business? You see opportunities that you didn't see before. You lean into challenging moments because you know that you're capable of handling that and you're going to turn something into that. I tell you all the time, Caitlin calls me a maximizer, and I absolutely
Mm.
love when she says that to me. It like truly warms my heart, because if I could be seen by my partner as a maximizer, it says that I take every opportunity, good, not so good, and turn it
Mhm.
into something that's going to benefit us as a family. And I
Yeah.
can imagine that your clients really benefit from being in conversation with you and getting to that place so that they
Mhm.
can, one, love the motherhood journey that they're on, and
Mhm.
also be building this business simultaneously from a place of real authenticity, from a place of really honoring their desire without
Mhm.
having to wake up every day and wonder, what kind of mom am I going to be? What kind of entrepreneur am I going to be today? They wake up every day knowing that
Yeah.
as like as a fact to start the day.
Yeah, totally. And I'm going to throw in another word that gets to be a part of this journey, and helps you as a business person, as an entrepreneur, which is innovation.
Mm,
Like when you really attune yourself to your desire and, what stand you make with, as far as, do you work on the weekends? Do you work nights? Do you work when your baby naps? Just examples like that. When you work, how you work. If you're a coach or a service provider, do you show up with a phone call or on a Zoom conversation or in person? All of these
hmm
parameters you take a stand on based on your desire. And then in order to create something from that, or create a service or offering or even a product from that, it requires innovation,
hmm
creativity and innovation, imagination of like, okay, what would that look like? And how, if it fits in your life, it's going to be uniquely yours. It's going to be innovative. And as we all know in the business world, that's your unique selling point,
That's
right?
right.
That's the golden thing that we create as business owners, is creating this distinction of who we are that makes us different and sets us apart. And that also helps create more business.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And I think it comes back to having space, giving yourself space and giving yourself that freedom to embrace the creative, innovative side of you that wants to expand the business offerings and to expand this business in a way that suits you and your family and what the future is that you're trying to build through this business. So I love that. I feel like we could talk about even that piece of it for so long, but I want to give you an opportunity
Yeah.
to tell people how they can get in touch with you, how they can reach out to you, how they can be in conversation with you, because this has been 30 minutes for me and I'm already feeling like I'm floating a little bit out of my seat. I love when you and I are in conversation. I love thinking about what this creates, not only for me here in half an hour as a non-client, but what it must be creating for your clients who get to be in conversation with you like this regularly. So how can people reach out to you?
Thank you, Hakeem. Before I share that, I want to just share like how incredible every conversation is that I have with you. And I
Oh,
always leave feeling uplifted. You have a really powerful way of seeing everybody's light and
thank
then
you.
magnifying it or
Oh,
maximizing it. Like
yeah,
that
oh,
is
thank you. Really
a
appreciate that.
powerful thing.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
So I am on Facebook. If you just search Kim.Auker, which is Auker, I have the same handle on Instagram. That's the quickest and easiest way to reach me. And you can also email me at kim@kimberlyauker.com. Yeah.
Awesome. And I'll put all that stuff in the show notes too, so people know where to find you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your energy and all of the insight that you have gained in putting in this work. I've seen you, I know you, I've watched you. It's inspiring to see how you show up online. I love seeing your content come through and to be in conversation with you and have you share in such an articulate, such a loving, warm, confident way. It just says so much about what you're doing in the work that you're doing, not only for yourself, but for your family and for your clients. So thank you for being here, Kim.
Thank you. Thank you.
As always, I'd love to hear from you about the episode. What came up for you as you think about leveling up your leadership game? And please, if you enjoyed the episode, I encourage you to like and subscribe. If you want to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn at Hakeem A. Lakhdar or at lakdarcoaching.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. Keep being great, and we'll see you next time.